In a world where power speaks in money and truth is buried beneath glass walls, one woman stayed silent. No titles, no microphone, no platform, just a mop, a pair of eyes, and a memory that never forgets. They saw her as background. They mocked, commanded, dismissed, until one day she had heard enough, and without raising her voice, and she brought their empire down. Inspired by a story more real than any fiction, the silent woman who brought down Titan Corp. Don't shut your eyes, don't cover your ears. Justice sometimes arrives with absolute silence. They didn't look at her when she passed, not when she walked through the marble lobby at 5:06 a.m., pushing a janitor's cart older than some of the interns, not when she pressed the service elevator button with a gloved hand, or when she wiped down the handrails that billion-dollar wrists would later touch. Elena Cruz had been at Titan Corp for 17 years. She had mopped its floors through 4 CEO successions, 2 stock crashes, 1 federal investigation, and not once had her name been mentioned in an earnings call. But this morning something was different. The building was pulsing with tension. You could hear it in the click of stilettos, the thrum of elevator doors, the way executives hissed names in passing. Wilcox's team just dumped the Cayman files into archive. Don't let legal touch the Rothenberg transfer. No paper, ever. Elena didn't speak. She rolled her cart down the hall of the 48th floor, the executive oxygen zone, as one junior VP had once joked. The carpet smelled like too much leather and not enough soul. At 5:43 a.m. she entered boardroom A. The long obsidian table still gleamed from last night's working dinner. Plates half-eaten, wine glasses smudged with the ghosts of privilege. On the wall, a backlit company motto etched in glass, "Build without mercy." She began cleaning, not rushed, not bitter. She moved like ritual, like someone who knew that the floor told you more about a company than its quarterly report. And that's when she saw it. A folder, thick, misfiled, forgotten in a chair. The logo read, Titan, Latam, Strategy. Private inside, wire transfers, offshore routing codes, handwritten notes marked with words like ghost ledger and deferred asset funnel. She didn't blink. She didn't gasp. She took a cloth, wiped the table, and left the folder exactly where she found it. But her eyes, they had already photographed every word. By 8 a.m., the boardroom was full. Laughter, espresso, big watches, empty hearts. No one noticed Elena anymore. Not even when one exec chuckled, "Still mopping up our messes, Elena?" She smiled, almost kindly. But her silence had weight now, like a storm that hasn't spoken yet. They didn't know, not yet, that the woman they mocked was about to burn their kingdom to the ground. And she wouldn't raise her voice. She would raise the truth, one floor at a time. Elena Cruz moved through Titan Corp's 48th floor like a shadow with keys. She didn't ask questions. She didn't knock, because she didn't need to. When people stopped seeing you, the doors stopped mattering. She became part of the building's bones. And that's how she heard everything. Tuesday, 5:57 a.m. 2 directors whispering in breakout room C. Transfer the funds through Cerberus Holdings. We bury it as debt restructuring. Just make sure nothing touches the compliance servers. Elena's probably the only one awake at that hour anyway. They laughed, loud enough for the hallway mic to catch. Wednesday, 6:12 a.m. The CFO's assistant dropped a USB behind the printer. Elena picked it up. She handed it back. "Thanks," he said. "I thought you people didn't touch tech." She said nothing. But later, in the janitor's closet, among bleach bottles and broken vacuums, she plugged it into an offline laptop of her own. No Wi-Fi, no trace. Thursday, 6:45 a.m. The founder's son, Connor Vale, swaggered in late, tossed his phone on a marble desk and groaned, "If another compliance snitch opens their mouth, I swear I'll pay to deport them myself." His friends laughed. They always did. The boys with 7-figure stock options and zero history. The ones who thought arrogance was heritage. That same morning, Elena walked past Connor while he was live streaming a founder mindset video. He paused and smiled at the camera. We don't wait for the world to make space for us. We take. Behind him in the frame, Elena passed with her mop. The internet noticed a Reddit thread titled, "Who's the cleaning lady?" began trending. Comments ranged from "bro, she's probably seen every deal ever," to "imagine if she's the one who brings Titan down." The meme hit Twitter by evening. Elena the Echo, the woman in every room, but never heard, Titans. Executives didn't find it funny. Friday, 7 a.m. Elena was summoned, not politely. 2 security guards met her by the elevator. One was young, nervous. The other, older, mean. They didn't explain. They just said, "You've been seen accessing restricted rooms, there's a concern." They took her downstairs, not to HR, to sub-basement 3. Internal risk review, white walls, no clocks, no cameras, only a small desk. A woman in a gray suit. "You've been near confidential material. Witnessed sensitive meetings." Elena nodded. "Do you know what happens when sensitive information leaks?" She looked the woman in the eyes, then slowly took something from her pocket. A folded paper. It wasn't a threat, it was a blueprint. 3 pages, every page had initials, transaction IDs. The real ownership behind Titans came in shadow entities. The woman in gray stared. "Where did you get this?" Elena didn't answer. She simply stood, pushed her chair back, and walked out. No one stopped her. That night, on the 48th floor, the lights burned later than usual. Connor Vale paced. The CFO chain-smoked in the balcony. The head of legal left 6 voicemails with no response. They didn't know where the breach was, but it was walking their halls with a mop, and the silence was getting louder. Titan Corp's quarterly town hall wasn't a meeting. It was a stage play, and the cast was always the same. Executives in made-to-measure suits, department heads with laminated smiles, interns seated in the back like extras, dressed to impress, trained not to speak, and at the center of it all, the Glass Theater, a 300-seat auditorium with stadium lighting and LED walls flashing phrases like "disrupt everything" and "fortune favors the bold." That morning, Elena Cruz stood by the side exit, in uniform, mop in hand. As always, she wasn't supposed to be there, but someone in legal, had accidentally assigned her to clean post-event. It was a trap. The founder's son, Connor Vale, took the stage to thunderous applause. He smiled like a shark in custom linen. Before we dive into Q2 numbers, a moment of clarity. We've heard a lot of noise lately. Rumors, conspiracy nonsense, anonymous documents. Floating around, the screen behind him flickered. A meme appeared. Elena, mid-mop behind Connor's shoulder during his viral video. Over it, bold letters, "Elena the Echo." The crowd laughed. Connor turned, looked directly at her. And look, she's here. Our silent shadow. Our backstage. Queen. The laughter got louder. "Don't worry, we're not here to cancel you. We just wanted to thank you for mopping up after greatness." Gasps, chuckles, even claps. A marketing VP whispered, "This is insane," but said nothing louder. Elena didn't move, didn't flinch. Her mop handle rested against her shoulder like a rifle she chose not to use. Yet, Connor stepped forward. "You've been watching us a long time, haven't you?" 17 years, I hear. That's impressive." He smiled again. "But let me be clear, Titan is not built by watchers. It's built by builders, risk takers." He leaned closer to the mic, dropping the pitch. "You don't understand what we do, Elena. You see numbers on papers, you think that's power. You hear whispers in hallways and think you've uncovered something." He paused. "But this company wasn't designed for people like you." Silence, then applause. The room, us full of suits and shallow confidence, began to stand, one by one, clapping, smirking. Elena stood still. Her fingers brushed something in her pocket. Not a phone, not a folder, a keycard, unmarked, titanium edge, issued only to level 6 clearance. Someone in legal. Someone who had slid it under her locker door that morning. No name, Just a note. Upload from server room C, 6:45 a.m. It's all there. She walked slowly down the aisle. The clapping faltered. Connor's smirk wavered. Whoa, whoa. It's okay, we're not giving out speeches today. But Elena wasn't headed to the stage. She walked past it, to the far left wall where the cleaning station panel was mounted. She opened it, inserted the key card. The wall screen blinked, the LED behind Connor, now linked. She tapped one button, play. The screen behind him froze, and then shifted. Black, white, time-stamped. Audio, June 6th, 5:57 a.m., Boardroom A. We parked $12 million, Cerberus and backdated as legal fees. If the feds sniff it, we blame it on the offshore arm. What about the janitor? She's always in early. Laughter. Come on, she probably doesn't speak English. The room froze. Connor turned, his face, once tanned and glowing, now pale and cracked like porcelain. That's fake. No one moved. Then, the CFO stood and walked out. Then the head of compliance. Then the legal director. One by one, the walls cracked. Phones buzzed. News alerts. SEC launches. Investigation into Titan Corp. Anonymous source leaks internal. Audio Elena the Echo Trends #1 worldwide. Elena turned. Still silent. She didn't look at Connor. She didn't look at the crowd. She looked up at the screen and nodded once, as if telling the building itself, "It's done." Then she walked out. Past the frozen CEO. Past the applause that never... But outside in the marble lobby, people were already standing, clapping. The world didn't explode. It unraveled, and slowly, and then all at once. Within 6 hours of the town hall leak, Titan Corp's stock dropped 27%. By the next morning, it was down 51%. Words like fraud, indictment, criminal enterprise filled the business headlines. But another name began filling them too. A name no one at Titan had ever said out loud before. Elena Cruz. They didn't call her janitor anymore. They called her whistleblower, watchwoman, ghost in the marble, and to millions watching from home, she was something else entirely, a reckoning. The footage from the town hall, Connor's mockery, the audio leaks, the dead silence after, went viral within minutes. On TikTok, it was remixed into protest videos. On Twitter, lawyers live translated every phrase of the fraud tapes. On YouTube, influencers called it the most savage mic drop in corporate history. One clip, just 14 seconds, showed Elena walking out of the auditorium, slow, silent. Beneath the caption read, "She didn't yell, she didn't run, she just burned them with her eyes." It hit 36 million views in 24 hours. In Washington, subpoenas were issued. The SEC froze Titan's offshore assets. 3 board members resigned. Connor Vale vanished from the press circuit. And Elena? She didn't grant interviews, didn't hire a PR firm, didn't even answer her new phone. When 60 Minutes sent a crew to her apartment building, she waved politely and offered them coffee from the same chipped ceramic cup her husband once drank from every morning before cancer took. Him and Titan Corp canceled his health insurance due to policy irregularities. She declined to speak on air, but she gave them something else, a name, the name of a young legal associate, the one who'd given her the key card. "He's the brave one," she said. "I just cleaned." In Midtown, protesters gathered. Outside Titan HQ. They didn't chant slogans. They stood in total silence, hundreds of them, holding signs that read, "She heard everything. Power doesn't always speak. Elena is all of us." Inside the tower, the board scrambled to salvage what they could. They hired crisis firms, fired PR heads, shredded paper, erased drives, but it was too late. The foundation had cracked, and she had done it without ever raising her voice. Then came the unexpected. Letter, handwritten, delivered by courier. To Elena's apartment. It was from Vera Calhoun, chairwoman of a tech ethics foundation in Geneva. She had watched the town hall in real time from a live stream. The letter read, "You reminded the world. That power isn't always loud. that justice doesn't always wear a robe. We would be honored to have you join our board. Elena didn't accept. Instead, she asked for one thing. Start a fund, she said. For every custodian, every invisible worker in every skyscraper that forgets who built it. A week later, the Elena Cruz Foundation was born. Its mission, to protect silent witnesses, the cooks, the janitors, the receptionists, the guards, those who see everything but are seen by no one. She didn't attend the launch but sent a note. Truth lives in quiet places. You just have to learn how to hear it. Back at Titan Corp, the glass tower stood, but empty. Entire wings were shuttered. Clients pulled contracts. No one sat in boardroom A anymore. But the plaque outside the auditorium had changed. It used to say, "Innovation is noise." Now it read, "Built without mercy, destroyed without a word." Elena Cruz never returned to Titan Tower. Not for the hearings, not for the headlines, not even when the new CEO, installed after the board's collapse, publicly invited her to join our journey of rebuilding with integrity. She declined, with a single line handwritten on a yellow post-it. "I was never part of your journey, just your floor plan." She moved out of her apartment quietly, a few weeks after the scandal died down. No press, no fanfare. Neighbors didn't notice, except one boy, Mateo, 12 years old, who used to wait for her outside every morning to walk her halfway to the bus stop. He liked how she never spoke down to him, how she always asked what he was drawing. He found a package at his door. Inside, a sketchbook on the first page. To the one who sees, keep drawing the truth. It was signed simply, EC she didn't. Move far. A converted storefront in the Bronx, boarded up for years, had gone unsold. She bought it using a portion of the legal settlement Titan Corp offered to avoid further court proceedings. She declined the rest. People were confused. You could be a millionaire, one lawyer told her. You could write a book, go on tour. TED Talks, activism, politics. But Elena only smiled, folded her hands, and said, "I already said what needed saying. I just never used a microphone." The storefront reopened 6 months later. No banners, no branding, just a bronze plate by the door. The room that listens inside were 2 chairs, a table, a pot of coffee always brewing, and a small corner bookshelf filled with anonymous stories sent in from janitors, cafeteria workers, night security, front desk clerks. People who had seen too much for too long and never been heard. They came, one by one, not for advice, not for therapy, just to talk. And to know someone was listening. The media eventually left her alone, but the legend stayed. She became a case study at Harvard Business School, the Cruz effect. Her silence was dissected in ethics classes. Documentaries were made. A best-selling, Teresi fictionalized but barely, sold under the title, The Woman Who Mopped the Floor Beneath Power. But Elena never read it. Stories aren't for awards, she told a reporter once. They're for remembering who we are when no one's watching. One morning, years later, a girl in a gray hoodie showed up at the room that listens. She looked lost, but carried herself like someone carrying something heavier than a secret. She sat down across from Elena, didn't speak for a long while, then whispered, "I think something's wrong where I work." "But I'm scared." Elena poured her tea, sat back and listened like she always had. When the girl finished, Elena nodded and said, "Do one thing first. Before you do anything, clean." The girl frowned. "Clean?" Elena smiled. "Not their mess, yours. Clean your fear, your doubt, your need for them to applaud. Then, when it's quiet inside you, move." The girl would one day take down a pharmaceutical firm with blood-stained ledgers. But that's another story. For now, she stood up, bowed slightly, and walked out into the morning. Elena sat alone. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, casting lines across the wood floor. She looked down at her old mop, now leaning against the corner wall like an old friend that had nothing left to prove. She poured herself another cup of coffee, then listened. Because sometimes, victory isn't in the explosion. It's in the quiet that follows, when the world finally learns to hear. Some people never step on the stage, and yet, they're the only reason it ever collapses. Elena didn't need a spotlight. She stood in silence, and that silence echoed louder than any speech. In a world racing toward louder voices, more data and shinier promises, perhaps what truly changes us comes from someone who says nothing at all. Thank you for listening. And if you, like me, believe that ordinary people carry extraordinary power, stay with us. The next story begins very soon. If this story made you pause, even for a moment, if it left you quiet or stirred something inside you, then maybe you're like me. You believe kindness and truth, no matter how small, can shift the world. Subscribe to this channel and stay close to stories that aren't loud, but speak loudest when everything else fades.